Peace, love, and prosperity. Again, like I said in the beginning of my last video, Frederick Douglass, is it easier to create strong children than to repair broken men? And I'm kind of making some of a continuation from my last video. But before I go into that, I would like to just remind everyone that I want to keep my videos short. I don't want to deep dive, as you say. I do in my own personal circles, but what I want to do here is just give people an intro, a spark into another level of consciousness. I'm not going to go too deep. As I go along, I get a little bit deeper, but I'm not going to go too deep. And sometimes if something carries over, I'll just do it in two parts. I don't want my videos to be long. I want them to be short. I want to get across certain points to help people think, get the wheels rolling, maybe inspire them to do a little research on something on their own, think about it from another point of view, give it another level of consciousness, things like that, especially for young people. A lot of young people, they not really into content that has substance, so maybe there's a parent or a young person or a teenager or somebody, they can take what I'm saying and, think about it, research it, things like that. So I'm not going to get too deep. I'm not going to make my videos long. I try to keep them at 10 minutes. Really, even the last two in a little bit over 2 minutes. But what I want to talk about today is, okay, like we said with procreation, and then you have a baby. And let's try to keep it to a baby. Let's make it whether it's the man or the woman, and the next time you have a baby, it's in a loving and committed relationship. And I don't necessarily mean you got to be married on paper for it to be a commitment. I see commitment another way. And at another time, I'm going to get into how being married on paper, child support, all of that, when you go through the court systems, sometimes the court systems, they're not doing the right thing. We just put it like that for right now. Okay? But you had a child, you in a hookup relationship, wasn't a loving, committed relationship, it was a situationship as they call it, and you have a child, but you're not together. Or you was together and it didn't last, and you got a child. At that point, you have to do what people call co-parenting. But what really is co-parenting? And when you have two people living in two separate households with either joint custody or one person has primary custody, however it goes, are you really co-parenting? Because what is co-parenting? Co-parenting is where you want to create an environment in two separate homes that's in the best interest of the child. In co-parenting, you have to set aside your own feelings for what is best for the child. You have to support a healthy relationship for the child and even to a degree for yourself with the other parent. In other words, having arguments in front of the child is not good for the child. Saying things that are negative about the other parent to or in front of the child is not good for the child. Remember, I'm an advocate for family and children. Remember that. So that's not good for the child, even if it's true. You may be saying something about the other parent that's true, still not good for the child, especially the younger they are. They will understand, they will form their own opinion, they will see things on their own as time goes on. But it's not for either parent to paint a negative picture of the other child, of the other parent. Okay? And co-parenting, also I'm gonna add, you try to make both households as similar as possible. You also have a lot of communication between the two parents. There's a lot of talking, there's texting, You show up to certain events together. You show up to basketball games, football games together. You show up to certain things together for the benefit of your child, because it's your child together. It's two parents. You know, you communicate, you take something. I'm going to take a small example, but yet a big example. You have a 3-year-old and bedtime in the father's house and bedtime in the mother's house, they discuss it and they make sure bedtime is around the same time. You want to make each environment as similar and seamless as possible. But a lot of people are throwing out this word co-parenting. But in all actuality, what you're doing is parallel parenting and calling it co-parenting. Now, I was not aware of the term parallel parenting until about a year or so ago, though. My big sister, shout out to my big sister, Rukaya, you know, she turned me on to it. And of course, I looked into it. I started checking it out a little bit. Parallel parenting refers to a method of co-parenting which each parent has their own parenting approach when the children are with them. In parallel parenting, they do not attend the same functions, appointments, or child-related events. Communication in parallel parenting often occurs solely through email, text messages, or in some cases, I didn't even know they had this, a co-parenting app. Now, you should try the best you can to do the first, co-parent. But we know reality. Reality is that what some people are doing is actually parallel parenting, because the lack of relationship between the two parents is such a lack of relationship, it's not possible to co-parent at that time. Maybe later they'll get to that main point that I said. The main point is you have to put your feelings aside and do what's in the best interest of the child. Parallel parenting is a whole nother thing. And some people, I don't know if you can even call it parallel parenting, because the two parents won't put their feelings aside so much that the arguments and certain things being said in front of the child does happen. And again, I'm just trying to consciousness, especially if it's somebody young. Like you might have two 18-year-olds out there, you ain't together, but you got a child. You're gonna have to learn how to put your feelings aside about the other person, what happened, this happened, that happened, for your child. It's that simple. Like I said, I don't want to make my videos long. It's just something I want to spark your thoughts. And people keep throwing this co-parenting word, co-parenting. But in all actuality, some people are parallel parenting. They're not co-parenting. And look into it. Deep dive on your own. I'm just trying to give you a spark, give you an inroad. Anything that I talk about, I'm going to be talking about some serious stuff. And sooner or later, I'm going to even get into a little bit what I feel about politics. And I want you to look into it for yourself. You know what I'm saying? So I leave you as I came. Peace, love, and prosperity. I'm Big Mike, and that's my point of view.